Hi guys and welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Adam and it's been a while on this channel. Things have been a little bit busy on my main channel, my tech channel, so that's why this has taken a bit of a backseat, but something happened over the weekend and today that needs talking about. And as you can see, I am a Chelsea fan. I'm not one of the clubs. They're one of the clubs that are, of course, going to be potentially involved in this new European Super League. And it simply cannot happen, in my opinion, and I'll talk a little bit about why, my reaction to it, and of course the ramifications of everything that's going on right now in the world of football, which has gone mad with Jose Mourinho also being sacked from Spurs today. It's one of those days that just seems to be gone a bit mental. So let's talk. Right, so Manchester United, Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham, not quite sure how they got in, but I'm not going to start having a go at them. And Liverpool, of course, as well, are going to potentially be going into a brand new tournament, competition, whatever you want to call it, which also includes some of the European elite clubs as well. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Atletico Madrid as well. And there's also potentially going to be another 3 clubs to be named yet, possibly the likes of PSG, for example. Not likely the German clubs, and we'll get to that as well as to the reasons why. And potentially there's going to be 5 other clubs that are going to potentially be able to qualify, depending on how they've performed throughout the year. But the clubs, those specific 12 clubs or specific 15 clubs that it's going to go to, can never get relegated. Which leads to the question of what's the point? You can potentially win it, great, but half of the real reason of being a fan is the chance that your club could get relegated and the drama. How many times do we get to the end of the season and think, well, the top is pretty much sewn up in terms of who's going to win the league. You've got the race for the top 4, of course, for Champions League football. I put this on especially for today because this potentially might not be what we've had over the last few years if this goes ahead. But relegation is a massive part of football, of course, and promotion as well. The likes of the teams coming up from the Championship, the drama around the playoffs. Some of the best football I've seen in my lifetime has actually been in that aspect of it. You think about the Troy Deeney goal, for example. The drama in that game was just incredible, and we may never see that again in this league, which would be absolute catastrophe, disgrace, in my opinion, to put the fans through this or you're looking to put the fans through this. It's clear that the owners of football clubs nowadays have one thing and one thing only in their head, and that's, of course, money. And that's a shame. Why are these clubs doing this is one of the things you might be thinking, and that is, of course, money is a big thing, of course. We know that, but over the years, the likes of FIFA, UEFA, the Premier League, they've made so much money from football, and these clubs are being greedy, but we're looking at institutions that have been greedy since their inception. The amount, I think £3 billion UEFA make on the Champions League alone each year, and these clubs are simply saying, we want more of a slice of that pie. The pandemic has been a massive issue, of course, for everybody pretty much in the globe. Football clubs have been, a part of that. They've really struggled. Grassroots football struggled. Clubs in the Championship, even, which is still a massive competition, have really, really struggled throughout. Certain Premier League clubs as well. The lack of fans going through the gates. It's a snowballing effect, of course, and some of the biggest clubs in the world have had problems as well financially because of it, but they can survive. The trouble is, if these clubs actually go into this European Super League, the clubs lower down, the money will trickle out of football. So I think this is a bargaining chip that these major clubs are looking to put on the table. They simply want more revenue. UEFA apparently are coming out with a revamped UEFA Champions League, which is going to include far more games so that they can make far more revenue, but it's also going to be a dampened down affair. I don't see if you actually look, I'll try and leave it linked in the video description below. If you look at what they're potentially looking to sort of change the Champions League to, it doesn't look that great, to be honest, from what we've known and loved over the years. But the main reason why I can't for the life of me actually see this going through is simply due to the potential regulations that the current governing bodies would actually slap on these clubs, the likes of UEFA, the Premier League, etc., because they, in the small prints of the competitions that are running at the moment, have the ability to potentially suspend these clubs from the current situation. These clubs going into this potential European Super League never wanted to break away from the Premier League. They never wanted to break away from really the current tournaments, the current competitions. But that would be potentially out of their hands if they were to go through and fully put this into place and actually start this potential league. The likes of UEFA would expel, have the power, I think, to expel these clubs from the current Champions League. The Premier League would have the ability to suspend these clubs or certainly deduct points. I think suspension would be the only route. I don't think you could create this new league and not allow other clubs to get into it, but they can still take part in the Premier League. That would make no sense. They could take the 300 million revenue I think that these clubs would make every year from that competition, just invest it and completely walk the current leagues as we know it, as if the gap between the top clubs and the bottom clubs isn't large already. So I don't think that could happen at all. But why would these play international situations as well? So apparently players might potentially not be allowed to play for their country. Why would these players want to be a part of this new tournament when they can't take part in the Premier League and subsequent leagues? Because no doubt La Liga, for example, would be similar. They would have a similar stance on it. Why would they not want to play in their current leagues? Why would they not want to play in the beauty of the FA Cup, for example? They won't the Champions League and potentially being able to play for their own country. Why would they sacrifice that just to play in this one, on paper, glamorous ties in terms of the teams on paper, but what a boring competition if you can't get relegated. Why would the players actually go into that knowing that would be the case? They just churn over this. What would be the point in, if you can't win it, it doesn't matter where on earth you finish in the table. Why would you do it? Pointless, absolutely pointless. So I physically, the only way I can see this being put forward currently at the moment is as a bargaining chip to make more money from the likes of UEFA and the Champions League and to have more say in how the competition is run as a whole. I could see them coming to some kind of meeting in the middle over this, and they could potentially gain a bit more power from this situation. But I can't see this competition going ahead. I simply cannot. And if it does, then as you've seen across the whole of, every single news article, all the fans pretty much that you're hearing on Twitter and whatever, everyone hates it. It makes no sense to the fans. It makes no sense to any of the journalists. It simply is there as a bargaining chip, from what I can see. And to those out there that are saying that as a Chelsea fan, I shouldn't be surprised by this because when you have the likes of Roman Abramovich coming into football, coming into the Premier League, spending all this money, gaining control, he's going to want to recoup some of that, outlay. And this is the same for Manchester United with the Glazers, the same with Liverpool, Manchester City, of course. The massive clubs are being invested in by massive business organisations. This is, so yes, people are saying the death of football happened 20 years ago when kind of this started coming into play. But then you've got to drop the same level of thought onto the shoulders of the likes of Sky. The simple fact is money has been brought into football. Football has changed, but there's been a relative level of normality that's kind of been kept throughout. And this, if it were to happen, would completely blow that out of the water. You've got to think of the fans that struggle to make ends meet and get to games to watch the clubs they love in this country alone. Imagine having to go to Milan and Madrid to watch your side play most weeks. It just simply isn't going to happen. The fans aren't going to go. You'll get very small numbers that can afford to make that sort of travel all the time. So the fans won't go. The competition as a whole sounds incredibly boring. So you're going to get less people watching it on the whole. And football will lose out as a result. It sounds just like a recipe for disaster. That's my opinion. It sounds awful. It's a disgrace that in this current climate, the pandemic and everything, that these clubs are even basically saying screw everyone else, screw the fans, screw the other clubs, screw the tiers as a whole, the football system as a whole. Very early thoughts on this whole thing. I've not had a chance to pen anything down. This is just kind of just off the top of my head. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this situation that's going on with the European Super League. And if you are a Chelsea fan or a football fan in general, I will be having much more football content coming very, very soon. Like I said, if you want to look at my main channel, I do everything tech. That's where I spend a lot of my time. But this is definitely a channel that I am going to grow in the coming months, and certainly going into next season. There's going to be tons more content coming, and I can't wait to start it. And this is just a huge story that I felt I needed to get my opinions out on. And let me know in the comments what you think. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.